Okay, now.
Well, here we are, trying to figure out our new gadget. I've got a microphone. Hopefully you guys will be able to hear me. We've got a different camera we're trying to figure out how to use. Not bad for a couple of techno-tards. So, as I brought up earlier on ABC Thinking, we want to keep in mind that, the A part of it is our analytical side. B part of it is what we know. The C is the emotional issues, or the emotional side of our thought process, reactions, if you will, this type of thing. And like I said, we really shoot for a balance of these three. One of the things that helps us understand what we're doing is, with ABC Thinking, is understand the terminologies that we use to understand how we should be thinking, and get a good grip on the concepts of these terminologies. We will, in the next few videos, we'll be working through some of these terminologies. We're going to be working with them on concepts, because if you work on definition, pretty much all the definitions are Western. You'll find that there are some languages out there that have comparable words, but the concepts are totally different. And this is the reason it's very important that we look at these in concept, so we can realize how we can help people apply these words correctly. As we go through this, these terms are going to find that they're all relational, and because they are, I want to start with the first concept or term here is relationship. I'm sure that some of you have had classes on relationship, and we've studied relationship, and we think we know what relationship is, but I want to bring up a thought process on relationship that might expand your worldview a little bit. As we see relationship, everything in our life is related. One of the things that we teach, and we teach wrongly, is the fact that if something happens to us, it's traumatic. Too many times we tell everybody to get over it and walk away from it and forget it. The body don't work that way. Whenever we have experienced any kind of trauma, we have to deal with that trauma. We have to work through that trauma. That trauma is relational to us. It causes change in our thought process, on our reasoning, and this type of thing. It changes our ABC thinking. We talk about relationship this physical relationship between two people. We talk about relationship between ourselves and the church, and ourselves in Christ, and this type of thing. And I want to just touch on a few of these things as we go. And I've touched on the negative side a little bit right now, but it has to be realized that literally everything is relational, and literally everything that we experience actually goes into our worldview, and it creates a function within that worldview, whether it be positive, negative, or neutral. And if we do not recognize these things and become relational to these things, these items, they have a tendency to become a tool for Satan to control our thinking patterns and keep us from being effective ABC thinkers. Satan is not happy when we're ABC. He wants to see us either BCA or CBA thinkers, preferably CBA. So we're reactive on everything, and don't put any thought to stuff. So, as we sit here and look at the word relationship and what it means, we can look at the 14th chapter of Book of John, where Jesus is actually talking directly to his disciples about relationship and about his relationship with the Father. He actually tells his disciples, he says, man, he says, I'm the Father are one. If you've seen the Father, you've seen me. You've seen me, you've seen the Father. If you hear me, you've heard the Father. And he also, goes along and he says, I and the Father are one. No man comes to the Father except through me. We have to be one in Christ. This is a relationship that we have to have with him to find the Father. Now, we can sit here and say, well, I got a relationship because I believe and I have faith. Well, this is true, but here again, we got a couple more terms here. It comes in that we can interpret depending on the cognitive process. We can interpret them in several different ways. And this is what we look at the 14th chapter book of Matthew, and our 13th chapter of Matthew, and the parable of the sower, where Jesus is talking to his disciples. His disciples actually come to him and ask why he's talking to the people in parables. And Jesus basically is explaining to them that, they don't understand. I'm trying to get them to build a relationship with what this is through these stories, and get them to think in concepts, to grab the concept of what I'm trying to teach and not the legalities of it. When we look at this is a return statement of the apostles. Some of the apostles sat there and said, well, yeah, but why are you doing it this way? And Jesus points that to them and said, you guys already get this. He said, you don't. And then what he's referring to is their thinking style. They're growing. These guys are also picking up the concept of who Jesus was. Because Jesus, literally, even in the flesh, he was a concept. Because he was God in the flesh. And he was representing God in the purest state. So we have to realize that the only way that we can really grasp where people are coming from is through a relationship with the people, whoever they are. We even have an issue when it comes to marital relationships, because marital relationships should reflect our relationship with God. I don't really think divorce is tied into this, even though our divorce rate is quite high. It's way over 50%. And that's even in the Christian community. It's not quite that high, it's not as high now as it was in the 80s and 90s, because people are living together more, not getting married. So the statistics would be a little bit lower. But again, this is another type of relationship that we're talking here. So when we're talking relationship, we need to understand that we can either be basing relationship in what Christ expects us to have as a relationship based on Him, on His nature, character, and deed, or a relationship based on the world, based on the physical aspect of things, based on what we want, what we desire, not what God desires. And there's lots of teachings from Paul in this aspect of things, and in Ephesians. So I'm just going to let you think on that a little bit, and our next video will be on some other terminologies. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you.